Hi, James Hayes, Don's Appliances. Today I'm joined by my friend Rob Sobek.
Hi.
So today we're going to talk about some technologies in refrigeration that help with food preservation. So there's some brands out there, doing, tablets and stuff in your door, which are cool, but other brands are really putting a big emphasis on food preservation. So where do you want to start with that one, Rob?
Well, I would probably say, there's a certain brand that has said over the years that the average household is throwing away, I think they say somewhere between $500 and $750 worth of food a year.
I think it's 1,000 to 1,200 now with
Oh,
recent
yeah,
inflation.
good point, tariffs.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the average household throws away about $1,000 worth of food a year.
Yeah.
Over the lifespan of the refrigerator, for a freestanding refrigerator, that means anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 of food waste. On a built-in refrigerator, that could be anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000 of food waste.
Yeah.
Over the lifespan of the appliance.
Sure.
So preservation is a very big topic to cover when it comes to refrigerators, and it needs to be divided a little bit, between freestanding fridges, built-in fridges, and then column-style refrigeration. So when it comes to a freestanding, up until 2018 or so, there was really only one system. You could have a compressor, and then it's possible to have a couple of different evaporators, for the fresh food and then for the frozen.
Sure.
So that they defrost separately.
Sure. So yeah, forever it was like single evaporator, and then they came out with dual evap at some point. And the way that works is it basically controls your humidity independently between the two units. And for a majority of my life, I had probably had single evaporator and never realized it. But then once I moved out on my own, all my stuff was dual evap. And then when I bought my house, they had just a basic GE top mount wire rack. Not great refrigerator if, in terms of build quality and lifespan. Terrible refrigerator in the sense of like food preservation. I'd buy a pack of strawberries and 2 days later they were already going bad. So once I upgraded to one of the newer models, when I redid the kitchen and everything a year later, it was a huge difference there. And that was just by switching out the evaporator and humidity controlling. Now we talked about this a little bit before, some of the problems that can arise with dual evaporators.
Well, I mean, the problem that you're going to have from a dual evaporator unit is that especially with side-by-sides, you're going to have that air pass through at the top of the tower from the freezer to the fridge, because that's how a single compressor refrigerator will cool. Freezer gets cold, sends air through a damper into the refrigerator, hopefully warming it up a little bit, bring it into the fridge, and then it goes in a circle. So a lot of times you will see the evaporator on the fridge side or on the freezer side or on both completely freeze over.
Yeah.
Depending on if the fan froze first, or it could be that the coil itself got completely frosted over. The killer of food is going to be dry frozen air going into a warm humid climate, aka freezer air going to fridge, or warm humid air crossing over into a frozen air climate, aka fridge to freezer. So the first is how you lose your fresh food quicker. The second is how you get freezer burn.
Yeah. So then a brand that we were touching on a little bit ago, they came out with a dual compression system in it. So basically, instead of having shared air where the air from the freezer is cooling the refrigerator and all that moisture and dry air kind of exchanging, they made them two completely independent sealed units. So along with that, you'll notice a huge difference in terms of longevity and as far as the food goes.
And a huge difference in price, because that brand is built-in only.
Yes. And they implemented some other things along the way as far as air filtration that removes the ethylene gases and stuff, which is like a whole other topic. You should stop into a store and I'll give you a lesson on ethylene gas, and they even give you a cheat sheet so you know what makes it and what's sensitive to it. But it'll filter that out, and that'll make a huge difference. But then, I don't know, it was 2019 Bosch came out with
18 or 19.
Yeah. Bosch came out with the freestanding dual compressor units, and it was the first and still is the only freestanding refrigerator on the market with true dual compressors on it. So it took us from that, $12,000 to $13,000 price point on a refrigerator down to, $3,000 to $4,000 on a dual compressor refrigerator. And along with that, you'll get many of the benefits of the other brands, along with They do have some type of filtration in there,
Mhm.
albeit it's not as active as the other one, but it does make a big difference. You'll start seeing packs of strawberries last 1 week, 2 weeks. Strawberries are always kind of a go-to because they're the ones that tend to go the fastest.
Just fruit and then
Yeah,
leafy vegetables in general.
yeah,
Yeah, but the Bosch dual compressor has been gangbusters since it came out. I mean,
yeah,
reliability has been fantastic. Service history has been extremely low. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, every customer I've ever sold one to, the feedback has been that they see a gigantic difference between their old refrigerator of brand X, Y, or Z over to this one whenever it comes to food loss and how much they throw away.
yeah. So if you're going to break that down, if you could potentially save $1,000 a year, and that refrigerator lasted anywhere between 6 to 10 years, that's potentially $6,000 to $10,000 in savings. Or the other brand, usually you see this go 15 to 30. So you're 15 to $30,000. So even though you're paying a little bit more for those units over maybe some of the competition out there, it will pay for itself over the course of ownership. So that's something to consider when you're shopping for your new unit.
It could be free.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You could actually be saving money or like, earning money back. So, and then the other thing that's come out recently, well, not super recently, but over the past maybe 10, 15 years, is column refrigeration.
Like late 2000s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and that's going to be completely independent units. Refrigerator, you buy that, you buy your freezer. A lot of people will marry them together and make it look like it's a single unit. You can split them apart in your kitchen, but they're completely separate. So it gives you all the benefits of a dual compression system because it is. But you can do that through almost any of the high-end brands out there. They're going to have some form of column refrigeration.
And columns came to be because, we'll just go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. Sub-Zero is who everybody in the built-in category was going after for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And they were the first to bring out that dual compressor system when it came to an all-in-one built-in refrigerator. So fridge, freezer, one box.
Yeah.
The columns came out. Thermador is the one who innovated it first in the late 2000s. Pretty much every luxury brand, including Sub-Zero, has followed, but it is a natural dual refrigeration system in that it is two separate appliances, and it introduced the first capability of going beyond 48 inches wide for a fridge and freezer. So a lot of it was design oriented, but the basis for the idea was getting dual refrigeration without having to shove them both into one appliance.
Sure.
So everybody has kind of copycatted. A lot of them are starting in the same factories. There's really only, maybe 3 or 4 total manufacturers of column refrigeration in the world. But it brought in dual refrigeration for all these brands that didn't have it to that point.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of times people will make that decision based on design aesthetics. Maybe they want to do 6 feet of refrigeration, and that's the only way to do it. But there's some added benefits to that. So once again, saving $1,000 a year in potential grocery loss is going to eventually pay for itself over the course of ownership. But yeah, I mean, there's so many brands that cover that, and I would say you can see some of that on donsappliances.com. Some of it, you kind of got to stop into the store, and I recommend that because, getting a hands-on feel for everything. Now, some things look real pretty online, and then when you start to touch and feel, you'll start to see the differences between brand X and brand Z there. So, and then, you got guys like me and Rob here that this is all we do all day is talk about appliances. So we probably have answers for all your questions. But thanks for being here this morning, Rob.
Happy to, James.